What's up, plant lovers? Devin is here, and I have some really amazing bulbs that I wanted to plant, and then I'm going to do a video showing you guys the progression of these bulbs as they go from being planted to starting to sprout to blooming, and then after bloom care as well. So this is going to be a video that I film over the course of a few months. Now, what are these bulbs? These are called the Starfire Lily bulbs, or sometimes known as blood lily bulbs. Their Latin name is Scadoxus multiflorus. They were formerly known as Hamanthus multiflorus. But whatever you call them, they are an awesome bulb. They're a member of the Amaryllis family, and they come from South Africa like the Amaryllis. And they're really easy to grow, just like Amaryllis. So I want to show you guys how to get these planted. Before we get into that, a couple of the cultural care aspects. I'm going to be planting these in this beautiful blue pot. This is about a 10-inch pot, but you can also plant them in the ground. These are hardy to zone 8 to 10. So for me here in eastern Pennsylvania, zone 6B, I'm going to grow them in this container outside during the summer months, and then I'm going to bring it inside in the winter time, because in the fall, winter time, they do go through a required dormancy period, just like our Amaryllis bulbs, but whereas the Amaryllis are going to be typically blooming in the wintertime, these are going to be dormant in the wintertime, and then we'll actually bring them back outside the following spring. Now, before I plant them, the type of soil that I'm going to be using is just kind of an average potting mix, but I have added in some extra perlite. So you can think of any sort of average potting mix, 75 or 3 parts average potting mix, 1 part perlite, so 75% average potting mix, 1 part perlite, and that's pretty much the good formula for these bulbs. They like to stay moist while they're in their active growth stage, but they need really great drainage. They don't like to be sitting in like heavy moisture too long. That's why the addition of perlite is great. So out in the wild, these are actually found oftentimes on hillsides or rocky areas in South Africa. And as such, they like to be rather pot bound. That's kind of one of the best ways to keep them happy. It allows for them to create a really nice root system and to flower pretty nicely. And so for me, what that translates in my mind, when we start to understand where they grow naturally, where they're native to, we can start to kind of recreate that in our own home environment. So yes, rocky would translate to great drainage, hence the perlite, but also to that pot boundedness. So here is an 8-inch container, and this 8-inch container, I'm actually going to be planting 3 of these bulbs in there. Now, each one of these bulbs is going to produce a really wild, spectacular, like out of this world, globular looking red flower. Those are the most classic common of the blood lilies or starfire lilies. But these like spherical flowers, it's actually comprised of many hundreds and hundreds of individual red florets, and then at the tip is this bright yellow anther. So the whole thing looks like this gorgeous firework. And they're one of the most stunning plants to grow in your patios, but they can also be grown as a house plant inside the home if you don't have any patio space. I think the growth is definitely better when you grow them outside, but if you have a nice bright sunny window, southern facing window, or with some additional growing lights, these will also be a wonderful house plant, because even after they bloom, they still have pretty gorgeous, thick, strapping foliage that looks fantastic, almost somewhere between like a clivia and an amaryllis. So we'll get to that once it starts to produce that foliage. Another interesting feature about these plants, like an amaryllis, if you've ever grown an amaryllis before and they just produce this heavy, this really nice strong scape, and then they bloom but there's no foliage until after the blooms have finished, that can also happen with these guys. It's kind of just hit or miss, honestly. Sometimes it happens where you have foliage and flowers. Other times it happens where you have flowers then foliage. So it's kind of, you take it as it comes. You take whatever Mother Nature gives you. Okay, so I have this nice pot just like this, and you can see that I've pre-filled it about 80% of the way. And like our amaryllis, where you plant like the neck above the soil line, it's the same thing with these guys. So super easy. Just kind of place them in there just like that. And this is a great size container for 3 bulbs, all right? Perfectly placed. And so in terms of the neck, like you see like where these bulbs are beautiful and they're already kind of like sprouting. So really and truly like right here, like right where it kind of hits this, where like this circular shape starts to come back in, that is where the soil line should be. So everything above here should be above the soil line, all right? So I have some more soil. Just pat it down a little bit so you can see just that kind of that top section of what we call the neck. All right, now we're gonna water it in, of course. Pat it down a little bit more, just so everything's at the right nice height. You can redirect them so that they're kind of just going like that, nice and upright. Now from here, we're really gonna not give it any additional water until we start to see some active growth starting. If you give it too much water, or they're still just kind of a bulb and they don't have any roots, they can definitely rot and get mushy, and then they won't do anything. So I'm gonna place it back here. This is an area of my patio that gets nice, bright morning sunlight, but it's sheltered from the hot afternoon sun. These guys like morning sunlight. They don't want extreme heat. So if you live in an area that gets really, really hot, like Arizona or something, place it in an area that gets shade all day long. For me in Pennsylvania, I think this is gonna be a nice spot. It's gonna be sheltered from any additional rain, kind of from this sun pations right here. And this is really a great variety. This is really a great location with that morning sunlight, a little bit sheltered from additional rain until that growth starts. Once that growth starts, I'll just pull it out a little bit so it has a little bit more room to flourish and it's not underneath this plant. But for now, that is all, and I will revisit the plant and bring you guys back once we start to see some more top growth, all right? Check this out. Oh my gosh, I am blown away. It has been literally less than a month since I planted these bulbs, and they are just popping like fireworks. So cool. It's actually funny because this guy was the first one to start, and I guess it just got a little bit ahead of itself, and he kind of stopped opening, and then these two guys started to just really take off. And you can see this flower right here is absolutely totally full. Each one of those tips is full of pollen for all of our wonderful pollinators. And then this flower over here is just really starting to open up. So I moved over to my front patio just because, just for lighting's sake, but I have been keeping this outside in that same location, very shaded. It's just about an hour of sunlight in the morning time. But I think what had really ignited that fast growth to get these to bloom in less than a month from the day I planted them was the warmth. If you've grown amaryllis bulbs before, then you know that if you give them a really warm environment, they will take off. And it's the same thing with these. It's been like 65 in the nighttime, and about 80 to 90 every single day for like the past month. So that has really initiated this really fast growth. And you can see, just like a lot of our amaryllis, the flowers came up and then the foliage just kind of trickle on behind them. So the foliage is actually a really beautiful aspect of this, which is going to make it a lovely houseplant inside the home once the flowers have finished and once it starts to cool down in the fall time. So for now, we can just enjoy our beautiful flowers. You can see one flower per bulb is what they typically will create, and absolutely a wonderful addition to my patio garden right now. So I'll be back in a little bit once the flowers have finished and once the foliage has really started to take off a little bit more, and provide a little bit more care, tips, and some of my experiences. All right, so we'll be back here soon. Well, okay guys, so the flowers are starting to finish. They've been in bloom about 13 days, which is pretty good for such a stunning flower. So once they really started to bloom and fill out, that's when I actually brought them inside to a cooler area. So just like when we're growing amaryllis, we want to give them really good warmth to initiate the growth. But once they start to bloom, we want to put them in an area with less sunlight and that's a little bit cooler. That's going to allow the blooms to stay looking good even longer. So if I had left it outside in a sunny location, the flowers probably would have only lasted about 5 days. But since I brought them inside to a, sort of filtered light situation where it's 74 degrees, however warm my house is, that allowed the flowers to stay in bloom even longer. So I recommend doing that if you want longer flowers, which I think you probably do. So now we're just gonna take our shears and we're gonna cut these old flowers off, and we're gonna take these to our compost pile. Now at this point, I think I'll probably just leave this and allow it to be a house plant. I could put it outside and let it continue to grow outdoors, but it's such a beautiful plant. I'd like to just have it inside as a house plant and watch this foliage develop inside the home. So it's really up to you. Just remember that if your temperatures start to dip below like 55 degrees at night, you do want to bring them inside and have them as a house plant regardless. So anyways, I think that will conclude the video for now. I hope that you enjoyed this video all about our blood lily, starfire lily, whatever you want to call it, Scadoxus multiflorus. This is an incredible plant to grow from a bulb, just like an amaryllis, very similar in growth to an amaryllis, but producing beautiful flowers in the summertime. If you have any experiences that differ from what I have demonstrated here in this video, make sure to leave a comment below so that you can share your experiences with the fellow plant lovers here on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you've been here for a while watching my videos and you're enjoying the plant content. I'm trying to produce videos every single week for Sunday mornings, a longer form video like this, and maybe 1 or 2 short videos throughout the week. Also, share these videos with anyone that you might think would appreciate them or might be a plant lover and like growing the cool plants that we talk about here on Plant Vibrations. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you soon. Ciao.